be talking about Michael Jordan, and we're going to start here. What this means is that Michael's probably well aware that he has the capability of saying yes to the point where it hurts. It's detrimental to him. So, for him to be able to fix that, he just needs to be patient, very patient, and allow his body to talk to him for what's correct or not. So, today we're going to be focusing on this and this just for educational purposes. But what does this mean? He has the capability of focusing. I wonder if that's something that you've noticed about him. He has this creative self expression, the role of self. This here is called the channel of the prodigal, design of the witness, but what that really means is that people just tell Michael things. They just tell him things that he doesn't even want to hear. But that's why he's the witness, here to be the prodigal. He is a person that really is able to listen, is really able to focus and retreat when he does need to be patient so he can allow his energy to really tell him what is correct for him. But what's interesting about being this prodigal who just hears things, it's about so that he can regurgitate it in the future in a moment where he needs it. And for him, that moment is now. The now can never be predicted. The now is a moment where maybe he's on one side of the room and another person is on the other side of the room, and he just hears some whispering even though it's a crowded room, and he's meant to go over and interject in that with the information that he's heard. So let's hop into this. This here is about understanding that there's a pulse on and pulse off in the energy that he has. You know, his creative self is going to be on at one point. His creative self is going to be off at another point. And the offness feels like melancholy, sadness possibly, this uncomfortable feeling. And this melancholy, it's just mechanical. It's not something to be thought of as emotional or blaming of. It is either on or off, and it just is. So let's talk about this pulse of being on and off in the now. Well, this creative pulse in the now regarding being in the now with this channel, there's going to be a moment where being in the now is just going to make him be in the right place at the right time. And it's going to turn that creative expression back on. Now, some people try to get rid of that feeling of melancholy by doing something. And there's nothing that needs to be done. Just let it flow through you. And you don't even need to identify why you feel melancholic. It just is. And by having this over here, the 41, this is all about having this like restless energy, like possibly having this nervous energy of having, falling over yourself because you're moving too fast. Possibly having all of these fantasies and desires. So imagine that there's this melancholic feeling of wanting to possibly get rid of it because it just feels uncomfortable, and you have all of these fantasies and desires to want to experience something. Well, once again, he just needs to be patient with himself, not identify why he's melancholic, and just make sure that when he is moving through those experiences, that they're experience one experience at a time, one foot in front of the other, so that he doesn't fall over himself, so that this capability of saying yes doesn't overwhelm him. Because if he's not acting himself, then he can hold on to things a lot longer than he needs to, whether it be people, places, things, or experiences, because he might feel the need that he has to prove. Prove what? Prove that he can be a good tribe member, that he can support the bad, but also support the good. But that's not what he's here to do. He's here to be this person who is this powerful being. He's here to be this charismatic person where the thoughts must become deeds. So let's talk about that. He is a person who is a manifesting generator, meaning that he has the capability of moving too quickly, so quickly that he might skip steps and end up frustrated or angry. So he really does need to slow down because, once again, I told you that he might feel like he has to prove. Prove what? He might feel like he has to prove that he knows. Feel like he has to prove that he's inspirational. Or feel like he has to prove like he's the guy who has all the answers. But he has nothing to prove, not even to himself. And I bet the more famous he got, I bet the more he felt like he had to prove. Maybe towards the intensity of things coming his way, how competitive he is, or that he's a person who can properly manage what is money, people, things, himself, etc. Once again, he has nothing to prove. He has so much depth to himself that he doesn't even know how much depth he has. He is this individual absorbed in his own process, really being in the now. When he is in the now, doing his own thing, being his busybody, only really allowing what is correct for him to pass through because he has been patient, not allowing himself to be risky. He is this fighter. And that's when he's going to be inspirational. That's when he's going to be empowering to the collective. That's when he's going to be recognized for his focused energy, for his experiences that he's put out into the world. He is a leader, a prodigal, but he has to be a prodigal of something. And it's a prodigal of being absorbed in his own process, his charismatic self. Now, let's get to some more hippy dippy stuff. Thank you for staying so long. My name is Katie Lynn. I do these on my Twitch channel live. If you want to come watch me, don't forget to subscribe or follow. We do these regularly. Let's go over here. What type of environment does Michael Jordan need in order to be successful? Well, he needs that of a role model. What does that even mean? Well, for the first part of his life, he needs to be able to fumble, bump into things, find the holes in things. And that's okay. In the second half of his life, he needs to be able to go like in a cocoon type state and lick off the wounds that has happened from the first part of his life. And now, in his 50s, he was thrust back out into life as a role model. So that's the type of environment he needs. He needs a growing process. Now, the type of people that he needs in his environment in order to be successful is his network. He is a person that knows that his network is where his opportunity is at. He's a person that has something to say to his network. he has a brotherhood, sisterhood, and he has a tight knit few, and then there are many, and there's going to be a lot of people that come and go. So, those are the type of people he needs in his environment in order to be successful. So, let's run back to this pulse on, pulse off in this experience of like possibly having this nervous energy. But he does have this capability of knowing where to place his fantasies and desires if he does take his time and when he's not proving himself. When he's got his brain involved, that is when he's not acting his true self. His body is going to lead him towards what is correct for him in the now because he is the leader. His creative experience of melancholy is going to be on and off, and he just really does need to be patient with himself so that his absorbed process going through life, being this busy, charismatic person, will be recognized as he does put one foot in front of the other, being that fighter where he can focus, jumping into experiences that are correct for him because he was patient in a space where he doesn't need to prove. Now, a part of who um, Michael is that he is a person who is a heretic. He's here to hear something, he's here to say something. Maybe he's here to hear a good dinner. Maybe he's here to say a bad message. You know, it could be he's here to catch something. It could be a cold, or maybe he's here to deliver a cold to you guys. I'm not sure. But he is a person that does require that time for investigation, to have that solid ground beneath his feet. He is a person that doesn't really want to speak about something until he's really truly sure that he's got that solid ground, that foundation beneath his feet. And then he will then tell, the collective about it once that absorbed process is complete. All right, so I'm going to stop there because we literally just touched the surface. We could talk about him in a health manner. We can talk about him in a way of where he's sleeping like he might feel like a completely different person. We could talk about him how this is who he thinks he is. If we are looking at him as society, this is what we see him doing. We could talk about childhood. We could talk about parenting. We could talk about him being in a group. He really does want to take people out into the world and show them an experience. So having this and this combined together, sheesh, he really doesn't, he really shouldn't push off that feeling of melancholy and just really allow himself to be patient. All right. Thank you for listening. My name is Katie Lynn. Don't forget to follow me.